Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. I have a psychologist who became a pastor and now sells real estate. So we're going to have a good show today. He's a top producer and recognized by the Jack's Real Producers magazine here in Northeast Florida and has been with EXP for almost 5 years now. So he's seen a lot of growth there, and I would like to hear about that. He's consistently using social media for his marketing campaign. Let's welcome the one and only Austin Preik to the show.
All right. Hey, I'm going to correct you right now, even though we already started. I should have done this before. It's Preik. It rhymes with bike, and that's okay. It's okay.
You have no idea how many times I said that to myself. I said, I need to make sure I can pronounce Austin's last name correctly, because that's
I honestly couldn't care less.
Is it German? That's got to be
It is German.
It is
so
German.
The
Okay.
EI, you get the I. Probably used to be like Preikoskovich or Preikovsky or something like that. It was Prussian.
Well, but, now I'll never forget it.
All right,
Preik.
good stuff. Good stuff.
Austin, really glad to have you on the show because I know you're doing, you're out there. I want to hear. I know you'll probably tell the stories because I've heard you tell them before, but to the audience members that haven't heard them, like the video you're doing in Beacon Lakes, your community videos, and what's that doing for you as far as being top of mind to people in there, because our area is very transient. First of all, people are moving out, especially for jobs and so forth. And then, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced, especially in these new communities, one person moves in from Michigan and they're telling all their friends from Michigan, you need to move down here and move into this community.
It's true.
And you staying top of mind and obviously giving them the perception that you are the expert of the community.
I am the expert in that community.
Exactly.
Well, and it's what you pay attention to. And I spend a lot of time. I did take some notes, and 30% of my business this year was from my farm, which would be considered Beacon Lake. And there's nothing better than that, because when you got to go put a lockbox on a house or put a sign in the yard, it's around the corner. Like, you can't get better than that. Right. Plus, the neighborhood stats and what's happening, what's going on. So it's not as much research every time. If you give me a listing up in Nassau, I don't know what's going on up there. I'd have to spend a lot of time researching things.
Well, I was listening yesterday to the podcast from the EXP agent out in Utah, Massive Agent Podcast, it's called, Dustin Brome.
Yep.
And I was listening to him yesterday, and he was talking to one of his, someone that signed up under him in his team. This particular gentleman, a young guy, lived in Dallas, and he was doing the social media. That was kind of the pretense of the show, and talking how he was doing a lot of reels and so forth right away, because he's learning, but he's like, what can I do? And he just started shooting video, and he got leads from it. And what they were talking about in that show was how when you do get someone that calls in off of that, where you're doing that regular, I assume you're putting YouTube, you're putting out that video every month about the community. When someone calls you, they have really already created a relationship with you. They've seen you probably several times already, but they're going with you because you're the guy. You're not coming in for an interview. You're actually the guy who's going to represent them.
Yeah, that's super true. I remember a couple of years ago, I was in Dunkin' Donuts in Nocatee, just standing in line, and I kind of felt some eyes on the back of my head. And I'm just kind of, you look over your shoulder a bit, and it's like, yeah, there's someone there staring at me. So I turn around, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, is your name Austin? I'm like, it is. And he's like, hey, we're just here from Long Island, and we're coming down here looking at houses, and I've been watching your videos and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Anyways, I will say that guy had already had an appointment set with somebody else, and with Dwight, who's amazing out there, Dwight and Sharon. I don't know if you know them. And so it was a great conversation, but it does show you the recognition factor you get just walking around the neighborhood. I like to tell this story. My wife rolls her eyes pretty hard on this one, but we were going around the neighborhood just for a walk in Beacon Lake, and someone came across the street and like, hey, Austin, so good to see you out here. I don't know how you have so much time to go out with a walk for your family. If you're selling so many houses, you're doing all this much stuff. And 2 more times on that walk, we got stopped by people I didn't, that person I knew, but other people I didn't know.
Right.
And her eyes would, when I tell her like, hey, look, you're with like a celebrity here walking around, her eyes couldn't roll any further back up into her head. So, but the benefit of that is I'll be sitting around on a Sunday afternoon and someone will hit me on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Hey, Austin, we're thinking about listing. Can we talk to you about prices? Can we talk to you about listing the house type of deal? And like, what is better than incoming business from people that already know, like, and trust you?
Right. 100%. I mean, I think, just like I enjoy doing the podcast. And when someone reaches out that you aren't really talking to, but you don't know they're watching you, and you're building a relationship with them in one way, shape, form, or another, and then out of the blue, you're like, they contact you and like, wow, my heartfelt work, it's something I enjoy doing, I have fun doing, is actually paying me back a little bit. And
Yeah,
that makes you feel
100%.
good. Yeah.
Well, if you can get business from what you're doing in your life anyways, so whether it be an interest group, so, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If I happen to meet people in that sphere, I know a lot of people go to like Orange Theory Fitness or to the gym, and you meet people and you get to know people and build relationships there and get to do business there. But if it's just where you're living and what you're doing and pursuing your passions, and you can find ways to get business from that, gosh, like, your life is so much better.
Yeah.
When
we were at the event last night. I was talking to Missy Katie Campmeyer, and she was just talking about how she's reached that point in her career that she's no longer chasing the dollar. We were talking about she talked to me about this book, but when the first part of your life you're always like, I'm trying to chase my career, I'm there, but now you've built a business and you're out there, like we're doing a podcast today, you got a showing this afternoon or appointment that you mentioned earlier, and you're making an income, and you're doing all things that you enjoy doing. I'm sure you cut time off to go spend time with your wife or go for a walk. But when you reach that point, what is that? How's that feel? And it just motivates you in a different way to get up every morning. All right, but let's get back where I normally start off. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Ontario, Canada. So if I say out and about, then sell you a house, then it's not oot and a
What was
boot,
that
people.
movie?
It's a house, not a hoose.
What was it was back in the 80s.
Are you thinking about Mickey Blue Eyes?
The two guys at the beer.
Oh, Baba Doug McKenzie.
Yes.
Yeah, take off, you hoser.
Yeah,
We're gonna go down and get a 2-4 and put our mouse in the bottle, eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
National
Exactly.
treasures.
Yes, there's our national treasures. So tell us, you grew up in, or just were born there, or when did you
So
eventually-
I was, both. I was born in Canada, and I grew up there, and I lived there through college until 1998. I moved to the States.
Okay.
We were it's where my wife here in the United States of America, and we lived in Botswana, Africa for a couple of years in between, and we've been back here in Florida for 10 years now.
So where's Carleton University? I've heard that name before. Where's that at?
Carleton is in Ottawa, Ontario.
Okay.
It's where the K stands for quality, and we put the A in excellence.
Psychology. Well, because I always go back. I've said it a million times in my life. I should have been a psychology major, because I do enjoy watching people and trying to figure out why they do what they do. What was it that brought you towards psychology?
Part of it, honestly, was I didn't have a lot of great direction back then. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it just sounded interesting. Something that sounded kind of cool, and it was kind of cool. It is kind of cool just to understand people's behavior and why we do the things that we do. So that's what drew me into it for sure.
Well, I think there's no doubt that when it comes to sales, having, there's a psychology part of it. And I was, that's why I was, if I should have been a psychology major, because even going into sales, to understand, those things that they try to teach us in all these classes, people's personalities and so forth. Do you revert back to some of your teaching sometimes?
Well, there's a great book that it's an old one, but it's been re-released recently called Influence. And it's basically a bunch of psychology experiments that people have done and geared all towards the sales field. So like social proof, and it's just like 7 basic behaviors, I guess, or seven basic concepts that it goes through that you can really import into your marketing, into your sales.
Mm-hmm. Do you find do you kind of break down some of the maybe some of these people you don't know, using the psychology and break it down to how you might present to them?
I guess, so just maybe on a very basic level, it's just kind of looking at like a disc profile type of thing. You recognize someone's very direct and they just want the answers. I tend to be a high I, and so I'll just talk and talk and talk, as you probably already noticed. And a lot of people don't want that. And so I got to remember, I'm not being rude when I'm talking to someone that's a very high D. They just like to communicate that way, and they just want the facts. And so it makes really short phone calls. And I have to fight, like, I'm being so rude to this person right now, but they don't see it that way. They probably think it's rude if why are you taking up all my time? Why don't you shut up?
So your psychology major, it was right that time as you come to the States after you graduate.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, what was your aspiration as a career at that time? I mean, or did you have one? I mean, what'd you?
So I was working in a lab for a company that made wood finishes over the summers. And then I came down with that company and worked in the lab there just for maybe 8-9 months before launching off into sales, moved up to Ohio, covered a territory, basically Ohio and Kentucky. And then with that company moved into distribution sales up in Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, before finally moving back down again, where I started the journey in North Carolina. And there I started doing sales training for our distributors. So they would we'd bring on a new distributor, and they would have, this is really boring, isn't it? They'd have like 18 salespeople, and I'd show them, we'd watch paint dry together and go through how to spray stuff.
So you're doing a lot of traveling?
It was
international. They came to you?
Yeah, it was industrial sales. It was a lot of travel. They'd come to us, or I'd go out to, if they had a bunch of reps out in Portland, Oregon, or something like that, I'd go out there and do a few day sales training with them out there.
Well, I'd like to always, even though it's today it's not exciting. At that point, it might have been exciting to you at your age and where you were at your career. But to build up to where you're at now, and why you do some of the things you do today, because I obviously believe everyone, they're learning from, they do things or don't do things because of things they did or didn't do in the past, and what builds you up to your personality. But being a trainer and training everyone, your social media, your personality, your talk, that kind of fits.
Okay, yeah, I see
someone
that now.
who's willing to just get up in front of a room and talk, it's because you've done corporate training before, and that makes you comfortable in that area. So you were with them for almost 10 years, if I saw on your LinkedIn correctly.
Yeah, so I moved down in '98, and then the company sold in 2007.
Okay.
So yeah, I stayed with the new company for a year with Axo Nobel.
Okay. All right, but then you go back and get a master's degree in divinity.
Yes.
What? Yeah.
Well, okay. So my faith's always been super important to me, to our family. I've always had an interest in those things and getting deeper into theology. And so when this company was selling, I was trying to make a choice on what to do next. And we didn't have stock, we had share appreciation rights. When it sold, there was a good chunk of income coming for some of us out of that. And so I was going to make a choice. I was either going to buy one of my distributors, I'd started working that out, or I was going to go and do this Master Divinity MDiv thing and go and do ministry. And I couldn't figure out what to do. And I remember talking with my little brother, and he was like, well, if money wasn't an option, or money wasn't an issue, it didn't make any difference either way, what would you do? I'm like, I would do the theology thing. Like that sounds like a great fit. I'm kind of nerding out on that a little bit. So that's when we jumped into that, and I took some of the share appreciation money. And unfortunately, it was 2007, 2008. So I believe the Dow was at 14,000 when I invested most of my money, and I think it might have hit 6,000 or so, 4,000.
Right.
But anyways, it did come back up. But I went and got that degree, and out of that, it just felt like a trap door opened, and we ended up in Botswana doing some ministry-related work over there.
What kind of stuff were you? I mean, building houses or just teaching, or what kind of?
So the foundation we went over with had done a project to build a baby rescue center, and it was supposed to be $280,000 if I remember correctly, and it ended up being like $450,000. And the next project was a $4 million project. They didn't want it to become $8, so I went over there to say no to things. But I mean, I kind of joke about that. Really, right. There was already architects, there's already project managers involved. So I was over there on behalf of the foundation. But you know, my wife, she is my baby, but my wife was an occupational therapist, and so she worked in the baby rescue center some, and did some training with some of the staff there, and worked with the babies. And I did some teaching at a Bible college there. I did some teaching in a high school a little bit. And so
just you were over there straight 2 years, pretty much?
Pretty much, yeah. It was straight 2 years. I came back, I guess it was in September of 2012, to look at homes. I had that weekend look in Nocatee at the time. I'm like, what is this Nocatee place everyone's talking about? So in September 2012, went under contract on a house in Greenleaf Village, and had no idea what I was doing. And I remember we had like a $250,000 budget, and we went up to, because the first house, you know, wasn't gonna be ready on time. And then we looked at one in Walden Chase, and it was under contract now. And so this one in Greenleaf Village was $264,000 for 2,500 square feet. And I'm like, we are blowing our budget. We could have had preserve for like 8,000 more. We're like, no, I'm not spending $8,000 more on preserve. Oh man.
Yeah.
So anyways, I didn't really know what I was doing, but hey, we got in at a great time. And
is there any other industry where hindsight is so 2020? No.
What would you have done 3 years ago if you knew today was going to look like today?
Yes.
What am I going to look back 5 years from now at today and wish I was doing today? So that's how I'm trying to think.
You know, I did a little short. Yeah, I was doing some shorts yesterday, and I've got to put it out. I don't think I put that one out yet. Just saying that you've got to get in. You got to get into the inflation is only going to cause housing values to go up. Now, hopefully, inflation flattens out, but the values aren't. You know, if they do go down, they're going to take one step down to go 2 steps forward. So you got to get involved. And rent's so high anyway. You've got to start working in obviously. I know a lot. There was this. You probably saw it. People started really jumping on the marry the house, date the rate thing, and like, no, we're not telling people to buy houses they can't afford. That's not what we're talking. Now, I would recommend some young people. You may want to go over over into Clay County or Putnam, where you can buy a house, but you got to get in the game. You got to get in the game of home ownership, because that's where a lot of wealth is built from the equity there. And then who knows, in 3 years, you could turn around and now you have a down payment. Now your job maybe is paying you more. And now you can move to Nocatee and that sort of thing. But you got to get engaged. But yeah, the 2020 thing. So you're doing that. So I want you to kind of finish up on your ministry, and then because you enter real estate, in 2017?
Yeah, it was 2016. I think I got licensed and actually started doing real estate work in January of 2017. Numbers are a little fuzzy. But.
So what led you? Because you're back here 2012ish, and what goes on, and then kind of like who entices you with real estate?
So I got back here. I did work with a church for a little bit. I won't spend a lot of time in that. It didn't go awesome at the end. I just don't want to go to all the personalities involved into
politics,
that, right?
Yeah.
But I got out of that and started another business where I was doing events. So I had a game truck, and I had laser tag, and we do all this mobile stuff, and it was awesome and it was fun.
Now, you know what? Because I think I remember, and I remember seeing that on your LinkedIn, and I believe I remember seeing you probably in my neighborhood. Did you originally see that franchise? Because it was a franchise?
There was a franchise. Mine wasn't a franchise.
Yours wasn't a franchise. Yeah. But when I originally saw it was on Shark Tank.
Okay.
Some couple came in and they were promoting that they wanted to franchise that type of franchise, that type of thing where you had all the games that you could put out on the field, but then they also had the trailer or the truck where the kids could go in and you had multiple screens and play video games and stuff to come over for birthday parties and things like that. But I almost immediately after seeing that on Shark Tank, all of a sudden I saw one in the neighborhood. So I don't know if that was you at the time.
Reticular activator or whatever, that it comes top of mind.
Yeah.
So I did that. It was cool, but equipment breaks down and the things you don't see, like all these consoles have to be updated all the time, right? And imagine if you've got like 8 of them now and you got to go to your house and drag the Ethernet cable out and just update that one and update that game and update that game over and over and cleaning things and stuff gets tears and your driver hits a curb and all your stuff ends up on the floor and you got to buy new stuff. It just wasn't it wasn't as
right. A lot of weekend work,
a lot of weekend and evenings and yeah, exactly. So that was, I sold the equipment for that business and a lot of people had said, hey, you should try real estate. You should try real estate. You should try real estate. So I'm like, fine, I'll try real estate. And well, lo and behold, it's been a pretty good fit. So,
so who was your like the first person you like really met at that time that kind of pulled you through, or you just went blindly and went and got a license without even talking to anyone?
So my friend Abe Blocker, he had worked in real estate before, and so he was not really guiding me along, but just at that time in my life, he was, one of the voices that was like, hey, yeah, you should definitely give this a try. Right. And then, so I did my license. I took my time. I did it online. I did it over a course of, I think you just had John Brooks on. He said he did his in a week. Yeah. Right. I was like the opposite. I did mine over like from June till, I don't know, I finally got licensed in November.
Well, I've had some people openly admit they failed the test several times.
Okay.
So, right, it took them that long as well. So, and you initially go to Keller Williams.
Yes. Yeah.
What was your attraction there initially? Because I really feel, especially with new agents, or like I said, agents that are maybe just joined a brokerage and don't even really know why they joined that particular brokerage. Maybe their friend was there or something. That it's so important to really interview. Interviewing the broker. Obviously, talking to some agents that already do work there and how things work, because not every broker's the same, and not saying that one's better than another. It's just some people fit here and some people fit better over there. So what kind of led you to Keller Williams?
All right, time? Yeah. So, and I will say that when you're a brand new baby agent just starting out, you kind of feel like you're interviewing, like you hope the broker accepts you. Yeah. Don't worry about it. They're going to take you for the most, chances are.
Somebody will.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one's going to offer you a salary, so don't worry about it.
That's right. So I ended up at Keller because there was a particular team there that I decided to join. And that was, again, it was just a friend had said, yeah, I heard about this team. You should go talk to her and da-da-da-da-da. And I didn't do any research, really. I was like, oh, good enough for you, good enough for me. I'll go give it a shot.
Exactly.
So my wife says I'm impulsive. I say I'm spontaneous, but we'll just have to agree to disagree on the particular language we use. But I tend to like make a decision and go for it. So ready, shoot, aim, ready, fire, aim. And so I joined a team and actually was with Melissa Ricks was on the team at the time when I joined. Okay. We were on a team together. Yeah. So that was cool. I think she was there a little bit before me, but team culture was kind of cool, but I just realized really quickly that in that particular case, all teams are different. I was building that team's database and not my own. So at the end of the year, I planned to spend a year at a team. I was like, shoot, I'm not going to have everything for myself. So I was like, not quite right for me, but moved away from that. But the good thing,
you got some you got bats. You got some.
You got a couple at bats. Yeah. I was only there, I think, maybe eight weeks.
Oh, okay, all right.
I did get some at bats though, and got some great habits. I learned, how to circle prospect, how to call, how to do a lot of great things. I have no regrets at all whatsoever. Joining that team, I got a lot of value from it. So. And being at Keller was cool because they've got just some really great training. Like, you're a brand new agent. I had an office I could go to and attend these trainings and learn from other agents. And I remember like this agent would be up there teaching, and they'd kind of show the behind the scenes in their database, and you're just like, wow, they have like 7 transactions going. This is mind blowing and amazing. And you know, now you're like, okay, yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. You should have transactions going and whatnot. But that was a cool experience.
Right. Well, I think you would agree that, you know, now you've been around long enough and you know all these people that I'll mention. Obviously, when you think of teams in Northeast Florida, or at least I do in my exposure, you know, there's great teams with a lot of different brokers, but I can name 3 right off the top of my head, and they're in their Keller Williams teams. You know, Christina Welch and Cece and Sarah Rocco. And each of those ladies run their teams differently. So if Keller Williams is where you want to go because of, like you said, but you want to join a team, you may want to sit down, and there's other teams in other areas, because you want to match how is that team actually run. It's not, they're trying to do off Keller Williams's book, but it's Sarah's vision of that. It's Cece's vision of that. It's Christina's vision of that, on how they actually are building it through Keller Williams's plan. So they're not the same, and obviously all 3 of those ladies have totally different personalities.
Well, and I'm sure they've all modified and made changes over the years and time too. So like, I was at Keller when I met Josh Rogers and locked arms with him and joined his team at the time, Select Property Partners, and then Freck said we couldn't use property or partners in our name. So, and we had heard that you're gonna have to have a name, so we switched to Josh Rogers' team, and we're kind of been sort of slowly switching to F3. Home
yes,
group.
I saw that. Tell us what does that represent?
Faith, family, and freedom.
Oh, okay. Faith,
So
family, freedom.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into each of those as well, but you know, it's kind of a slow rollout on that. But but again, so that was a whole other team. I think Christina, Cece, us. I think we were 1, 2, 3 at that Keller office at the time, and so again, another completely different team, and even F3, Josh Rogers' team / Select Property Partners. From the time I've joined to right now, we look like completely different. Yeah. So
obviously, I wanted to expand on that part. Actually, let's hold off, because I really want to dig in. And from your eyes, I know obviously agents are bouncing around, moving around right now, and you know, trying to figure out what fit is and what the fit is for them. And I want to dig explicitly about EXP. But you as an agent, so you're initially you're couple months at this first team, you end up going over to Josh's team. What are some of the challenges that you were seeing in that first 6 months? And, you know, did Josh help you get out of it? Were there other coaches? What are some changes that you had to make, or maybe a mindset? But what were those challenges as you initially got started?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a big believer in finding a good team to start with. And, you know, the primary reason is even just to get, I think, did you say at-bats, or to cut your teeth
experiences,
on things? Yeah. So I was on my own for a little bit, and kind of a funny story, at least funny to me. My wife had known Josh at Trinity Fitness. He was a trainer there. That was one of his what you're doing in life anyways, right? Like he was, you know, but it was a great referral source.
Yeah.
So Josh was working there as a trainer and knew my wife, and he knew I was in real estate, and I think he was building his team, and I think his wife was like, you need to get a couple dudes on your team. And so I think that's my qualification why he reached out to me, is because I was a dude. But he reached out to me and he's like, hey, Austin, do you want to have a cup of coffee? Talk about being on a team. And I was like, absolutely not. I don't really want to do the team thing. Because I'd been on one and it just wasn't a good fit. And I was just like, nah, I don't want to do the team thing. But I started thinking about, man, why am I so like opposed to the team? And it wasn't really about, you know, team stuff so much as myself. I wanted to show, like, I'm Austin, I can do this, I can, you know, build this myself, and I'm gonna be awesome. The ego was getting in there for sure.
Right.
And so I remember it was a Friday, we had that conversation. I called him back Monday and was like, you know what, let's sit down and talk, let's have a cup of coffee. And of course, I don't know if anyone out there knows Josh, his response wasn't yeah, let's do it. It was like, well, what changed? Why do you want to meet now? That coaching.
I
came
thought
out.
about it.
Yeah, I thought about it, and it was my ego for sure. So, and I'm so glad I had that cup of coffee because was able to lock arms with some really great people, with Henny. I can't remember who else was there at the time on the sales side, but we dove in, and immediately I was getting good habits put in place. I was getting good training and coaching, and I was getting reps. So we were doing a ton of new construction. We still do a ton of new construction, but back then, Josh was like the guy on YouTube at that time, and some other people have definitely come into that space, and it's awesome because all ships are rising with the tide. But man, we had so much YouTube business, so much new construction that I think I went one of my first months there, I had like 5 or 6 contracts. It was just crazy. It was like baptism by fire, put into it, and getting a lot of reps, a lot of experience, and just had me building.
Now, are you buying? Is he buying leads at this time, or
no? We've never really been. We've dabbled here and there with buying some stuff here and there.
So really, a lot of organic.
It's all organic YouTube at the time.
Interesting. Yeah. So, explain. And here's why I'm asking this question. Obviously, we talked about, I finally got my YouTube channel up here a month ago, and I've gone around and I've seen some other agents. There are some agents that have YouTube channels, and if you go on them, they might have a half a dozen videos, and they were all done 2 years ago, where they did it. They did a handful of them, and then
you've been looking at my channel, haven't you?
No, I've not looked at your channel. I did not look. I have some others envisioned in there, but I think you would agree because, and I want you to kind of explain to everyone what is a YouTube lead in your definition. But we have so many of our people coming into the area that are coming from out of state. And when you can put stuff on video, walking around the community, I know Josh does a lot of that, where he's walking around the house or he's walking around, wherever he's at, and people can see where they're buying it. Because people come into a neighborhood, they see a house, maybe they come back and see it a second time, and then they're buying it, and they haven't spent any time there. So if you're up in Michigan or Connecticut or whatever, and you're looking to buy here, and you can actually see videos of people walking around, and hey, this is what downtown St. Augustine looks like, and that sort of thing. Even though you've been there, you now have an ability to look at it video-wise, because maybe you didn't take all the pictures when you were there at the time, or whatever it is. But they're searching, and YouTube is a huge search engine. Obviously, if you go into Google and search a particular agent, or obviously if you have the keywords, which I'm sure you have Beacon Lakes, and someone searched Beacon Lakes, you're going to pop up in there in your videos. So explain how Josh was tipping into this a little bit earlier, and obviously getting you guys leads. These people were literally getting his information by watching a YouTube video. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. So just like we talked about before, people recognize you, right? You're the Excellence in Real Estate podcast guy.
Right.
And so it's the same thing with video. We do a whole video one-on-one that we've done trainings with for people, for agents. And video is amazing. Video is evergreen. It's working for you 24/7. And people get to see you, so they're knowing you, liking you, and trusting you. And by the time you talk to them on the phone, I know it happens to Josh all the time. It happened to me once with Margaret, if you're out there. They're in California, and she's like, "Dan, come to the phone. I'm talking to Austin. It's him." Because they just watched all my content on Beacon Lake. So that's pretty cool. So it's being consistent, and it's putting video out there. And I guess what you want to do is put yourself just in the shoes. Or I guess put yourself in the bed of a buyer. That sounds wrong. But when just imagine your buyer's laying in bed and they're up at night worrying about something. What are they worried about? And start making videos based on those, right? So things we just take for granted. People are worried about alligators. People are worried about hurricanes and storms. And so just starting to think, take yourself out of all the stuff that you're used to and don't assume anything. Just get really basic, really simple, and start putting stuff together on so if I was moving to Florida from California, what are the questions that people are going to have, and start making videos about that stuff.
Right.
And then the other side of it is to borrow a page from Gary Vee. Can I mention your competition on here?
Do I have competition?
Gary Vee.
No, okay, yeah. I wish Gary Vee was my competition.
It's document, don't create. So someone calls you and you're like, why do I need a pre-approval before I go look at homes? That's a great question. You're going to answer it. And then you're going to get your phone out and you're going to shoot a video on your phone and post that thing, because if someone asked you that, other people are going to want to ask that 100%. Too. So just, you don't have to come up with content and be super creative. Just document your day, and whenever stuff happens, just, make a little video about it.
Right. And even if you answered the question, you could send them that link to that video. Maybe you did that same video last week. You send them the video to back up what you just said, and now they're tapping into your other videos.
Love it.
And now they're creating a relationship with you by all the other information that they didn't realize you already have out there. In the realization of the YouTube world, or your social media world, particularly YouTube's great because just like this podcast, it's out there forever. Apple Inspire, you can go on. People did 3 podcasts back in 2015. Those 3 podcasts are still out there. They don't go in and like clean them out. So they're still in there. That YouTube video is there forever. I mean, how many times you've gone on YouTube to search about anything and you're looking and you go, hey, I'm watching a video that was made 3 years ago that now has million hits on it. And because it's giving out good information. And like you said, why you need a pre-approval, that hasn't changed since I've been in the business 17 years. The same reasoning, same answer is going to be given. So to put that stuff out there and show, obviously, again, the perception, but also, like I said, I think I said with Al Nicoletti, you are becoming the expert. I haven't told this story in a while. When I was starting a podcast in the spring of 21, I started really purging on different podcast platforms. And I came up with the Massive Agent podcast. I came across Dustin's show, and he was interviewing a gentleman from Montana. And in Montana, they have a lot of people from California wanting to move there. And those people from LA think they want to live out like away from everybody. But what they don't realize is there's no cell phone service. It snows, so you need a plow and all this other stuff, right? So he had just dealt with talking to a couple in California, showing them this house 20 miles outside of town. So literally like there's nothing there. They thought that's what they wanted, coming up from LA. And so he just said, you know what, I'm just going to shoot a video. And that's what he did. He stopped on the side of the road. And if you watch this video, he's got the mountains in the background. It's just the road that goes on and then it just disappears, right? And he shoots this video from his phone and it goes viral. Hundreds. He's probably, I think he was actually 1.7 million views. I think actually at the time by the time I heard it and saw it, and now he is known. And after he's even added a book since then, he was telling his whole story. He is, now that perceived expert of Montana, and he has these videos. You want to move to Montana? This is what Montana looks like. And this is what and he had pictures of bears and stuff like you're gonna, like we talk about alligators up there. They're talking about bears and other things in the
Good
woods.
point.
But his video went viral, and that's the whole point of it. And it's out there. And anyone moving to Montana, the information hasn't changed because he did it 2 years ago. It's still the same. Still dealing with bears and living in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone service, and that kind of
and I love the point that he shot that on a cell phone. How many people out there, raise your hand if you're like me and you like the new gadgets and you like to play with tech and all of that. But there's this conception, I see it all the time with new agents that are like, well, I'd shoot videos, but I need to get a gimbal, right? Make everything steady shot. I need a drone. I need like a nice microphone. I need all this. I need all this stuff. All that is procrastination.
Yeah.
You need your phone, and arguably the fewer steps you have between shooting something and posting it makes it much closer to actually getting done. I don't know how many videos I have on a little SD card right now that I shot them on my SLR, I shot them on my drone, I shot something cool, and because I actually had to take that chip out and put it into the computer, it just never got
and
done.
then cut it into another video to make
Right.
it.
Well,
Yeah,
and then you're like,
yeah.
well, that was 6 months ago. That's not a good video anymore. I'm onto this thing now. Shoot it on your phone and post it from your phone. Just do it. Just get it done. Perfect's
really-
the enemy of done, right?
I agree 100% with you. I was talking to someone, it was a videographer actually last night, and we were talking about everyone's doing the class, like, hey, you got to do video, I did that class on October 21st, after my 100th episode. Cece was there talking about creating content because she's big into that. And I had Aaron Salem from Roundtable Really. And we had a room full of agents. We're telling them, hey, content, and you gave me some accolades before, the consistency, you got to just keep doing it. And I realized that a lot of agents, they want to do it, but like you said, that was a very great advice. Post-production, minimize trying to make it all fancy and take all this time, because if it does take a lot of time, you won't do it a lot, right? But you can shoot it with your phone, put it on a little stand, or you can prop up the phone if you wanted to, or there's people that are really good at just holding it out there.
Most of my videos is like you see it flip around, and I talk, and then I flip it back around again, and
yeah. I would recommend to a lot of people get a little lavalier mic. Those are very inexpensive, just because you sound good. And talking to media people, especially in the podcast world, you want your sound to sound good. Otherwise, people won't. So that would probably be the only little additional accessory. Beyond that, you don't like you said, you don't need that fancy gimbal. I don't know. Does Josh use one? Because he does do a lot of walking and talking and that. I imagine he's probably stepped up to that. So he's 6 years into his video career.
Well, so A, he's earned the right. B, he still shoots a lot on his phone. We shoot video all the time on the phone. So the best camera is the camera you have with you.
Yep.
And then he's also to the point now where he doesn't have to do his own editing. So you don't, if you're doing your own editing. So here's the problem with making a really pretty, perfect video is the next video you shoot, if it doesn't look as good, you're not going to want to post it. So I don't know if you've run into that before, where you make something, you find some new tool, and it's like, oh, my next one has to look as good as that one, and that one has to look better and better. And soon, like you said, you're doing one video a week where you should be doing 15 because like 15 videos that are actually existing out there are going to perform a lot better than one video that looks maybe pretty great, but it's just one video.
Would you, one piece of, and actually I oftentimes want to reach out to a lot of agents when I see their videos on Facebook. Maybe they're showing a house that they just listed or whatever, is to actually be in the video at some point. Not necessarily the whole thing, but be in the video at some point.
I love that. That's great advice. And so this is also one of the biggest pieces of advice that Josh gave me earlier. I remember shooting a video in front of the Beacon Lake monument there. I don't know why, I just adopted that neighborhood way early on. And they were just putting it up, and I remember kind of squinting at the sun a little bit, and I got my camera out, and I'm like, yeah, everybody, and I'm trying to think of stats, and my face is like this the whole time. So I'm shooting this video, and I'm giving all this stats, and I'm frowning the whole time at the camera.
Well, the sun's in your eyes.
Sun's in your eyes, maybe, yeah. So even if you do want light in front, but just the idea of just stop and smile. Right now, let's just smile.
Yeah,
I like smiling.
Yes.
Do you like smiling?
Yes. You're on the camera. We'll both
All right,
smile.
let's smile.
We'll
Ready?
both smile.
See, now, out there, I bet you 50% of the people watching is just smiling.
They just smiled and laughed. Yes. Well, I really believe if you want to make an impact on someone, especially in a lot of short-term video, reels are the thing now, right? What gets people to watch it over and over again is to get an emotion out of them. And if it's laughing, that is the number one thing you want, to get them. You get someone to laugh, they're going to watch it 2 or 3 times, they're going to laugh, and then they're going to forward it to their friend, say, hey, you got to see this video, it's really funny. But people do those things on those reels, not the informational reels that you and I do, but the crazy reels that people go viral on, are creating an emotion, and I think it's that endorphin that you get when you smile and you laugh, and by getting that reaction, people remember it and then want to see it 2 or 3 times, and then obviously share it with friends. So my point with the real estate agents is they want to see your face. They want to know you're human. They read your caption at the bottom, says, hey, this is a great, listing at whatever has this many bedrooms and blah, 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 but they want to hear you. That was Carl Sona with Streamline Media, who I wear their shirt and they do my thing. He said there was a study, Harvard, MIT or whatever did a study, and the sound of your voice is important. So having real audio on there versus, just music playing or something, actually you talking, it sets off things from the psychology standpoint.
Well, you bring that up, and when you talk to agents, why aren't you doing video? We talked about all the equipment, all the gear. We talked about creating or documenting versus creating, because coming up with content is one of the reasons people aren't doing video. But another one is I don't like the way I look, and I don't like the way I sound. And how you sound on video is how you sound anyways to us all the time. And it sounds different to you, but just get over that fact that that's how you sound when you're talking in the world. So you're not making any changes there. Then how you look, don't worry about it. Like, you look great.
Are who you are,
You're
man.
a beautiful person.
The
You look
Lord
great.
put you on this earth.
If I can do it, if Tracy can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, man. And go, spend some time looking through some of the big YouTubers. Are they super attractive people? Not necessarily. There's, there's all kinds out there. I have one of my sales partners, I'm not pick on, but I'm just gonna talk about how amazing Henny is. And I saw today, she just posted a stats video for St. Johns County. And I know in the past, one of her pushbacks on video was she has an accent. She's from Hungary. And Josh and I would be like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing that you're from Hungary and you have this accent. It makes you stand out. You're super memorable, and it works for you, but you just have to get through that. And thankfully, she's there. She's shooting video now and having great success with it. But someone might say, "Oh, I have an accent," or "Oh, I wear glasses. I don't wear glasses. I do this. I don't do that." It doesn't matter. Just put content out there and just be you. Just for Melissa, I'll say, you be you, boo, and just produce. Just put it out there. Be consistent.
We mentioned earlier the Canadian A and that sort of thing, and her having the Hungarian accent. And I literally posted a reel this morning on my YouTube. Sure, I think I actually might have put it in a Facebook Reels as well. Jocelyn Reyes-Brunel with now United Real Estate Gallery. She really grew up in Puerto Rico. So she only knew Spanish when she came to the States, and she had to learn English. And she becomes a real estate agent, and she was struggling to learn the language while also being Rookie of the Year at the Exit Real Estate Gallery.
Love it.
And she had found that she was building relationships because of her social media presence with other people around the country that obviously had a Hispanic, they could speak, were bilingual. So someone speaking Hungarian and having that accent, you don't know who you're creating relations with, because my grandmother was from Hungary and she sounded just like you. You don't know who's out there in bonds with that. And obviously, I think a lot of we're all, as Americans, we're attracted to the James Bond and the British accent or the Australian accent is just our two that we seem to be attracted to and always remember. Like you said, you don't forget. But you don't know, because they're hearing your voice, and then when they see you in person and hear your voice, how that brings it all together.
Exactly. Yeah, and you get to stand out. You're not just in that. Yeah, you're not all camouflaged.
Yeah. You don't know who you're creating the relationship with.
I don't know what to do with my hands here. I just.
They say in the shorts to make sure the person's hands are up there too.
Okay.
What do you do before we get? Then we're going to go into EXP. What do you do personally? Obviously, with your master's degree in divinity, reading was probably a big part of that part of your life. But what are you doing today to stay sharp? Whether it's just for enjoyment, but obviously, staying on top of things. Are you a podcast listener? You book reader, industry journals? What do you like to dig into to keep sharp?
So yeah, I do. I read a lot of books, and I tend to switch I'll read a couple business books and then maybe do something more theological, still into that side of things as well. Do some podcasts. I'll be like really gung ho, listen to a podcast for
binge for a while.
For a binge for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of falls off and I'll dive over to something else. And that's where I love Audible. I love 1.3 times speed, and you can get through things a lot more quickly. And then, on the Kindle or whatever, just reading in paper still. Depends on the book. If something I want to highlight a lot, then I like having the paper copy of it. And if it's really, really good, then you can listen to it and read it at the same time and just really soak it all in.
I've never done that. Are they actually reading verbatim out of the book? Because a lot of times the author is doing their own narration.
Yeah, so it's verbatim except for in this book. They might say in this audiobook. But
they'll do
with the Kindle, you can actually have it like it highlights the words as it's going on the same cue as the audio. Okay. So it's like you can learn so much more quickly. Maybe I don't know by taking everything
another
in.
sense that's being triggered to remember it. Okay. All right. So you're at Keller Williams with Josh. I would imagine Josh was initially someone approached him first. I would imagine. I don't know. Tell us a story how you end up at EXP.
Right. So again, Keller Williams was awesome. We started feeling like we're hitting a bit of a ceiling there. We just didn't feel like it was offering us at the level we were at, what we were looking for. And then, Josh had been approached from a couple different people at EXP. So the story of how we got to EXP for me is Josh went there, so I went there. I mean, it's pretty simple, but there's a guy named Clayton Gitz up in Virginia. Dude sells like 600 homes, has a mortgage company. Like he's got all this stuff. Right. And then Matt Plummer, who is the probably the best financial coach in the U.S. right now for real estate agents. He and Josh joined together at the same time. So it was just made a lot of sense. And I guess I don't have like the big why we joined from that point because I'll be putting words in his mouth. But
I think a lot of agents obviously have probably heard a spiel from EXP and so forth. And but what were some of the things that triggered you? What are 2 or 3 things that were
right? So I'll tell you what I love about EXP. And first of all, if you've heard about EXP from someone not at EXP, you wouldn't go to the Ford dealership to learn about Ferraris, right? So anyway, I'll leave that there. But the beautiful thing about EXP is there's like 5-6 different ways to earn income while I'm out doing what I'm doing anyway. I'm out selling houses, and there's a lot of other benefits to the other ways to make money. Last year, at the end of the year, I was able to, because we get ownership, I was able to sell some stock. I bought my wife a brand new Honda Pilot. I bought my daughter a used Mini Cooper. And it was all cash. And it was just because I was able just to sell stock that I wouldn't have had if I was doing what I'm doing anyways somewhere else.
That's pretty impressive.
Super attractive, but all of that, I don't know if we want to go into all the nuts and bolts of it, but because there's financial alignment between agents, so I mentioned Clayton Gitz, Dustin, he's in our organization as well at EXP. And what it's done is created this financial alignment, has created this culture of sharing. And what I mean by that is if I wanted to get Clayton's playbook and I was at another brokerage where we weren't really connected in any meaningful way, he didn't really have skin in the game for me to do better. He probably wouldn't take my phone call. I mean, he probably would if I was persistent. He's a great guy.
Or because you were from the same general brokerage.
Right. Yeah. Same general brokerage, someone like that. There's a lot of very successful agents, a lot of awesome people that could help me with podcasting. As you just mentioned, Dustin. Doing really good remembering names there. But because there is financial alignment, it's just created this culture of sharing where Clayton has an interest in Matt and Josh and me and anyone I have at EXP. I've got an interest in them succeeding, and we all want to. Most agents, anyways, I think tend to be pretty giving, tend to be pretty excited to help people.
Right.
But there can be a tendency sometime to be like, I'm going to give you this part of it, but my secret sauce, I'm going to keep this over here.
Right.
Because I don't want to, help my competition.
The linchpin that you need to make it all.
Right. Even though you can give them everything and probably people aren't going to do do it anyways. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Right.
But because of this alignment, man, like Clayton's excited to pour into us. He's got a training this afternoon, a planning from noon till 5 p.m. He's got a bunch of different super successful agents on planning for 2023. So that's available. There's so much available, so much training, so much guidance, blah blah blah. I can send you a video about it.
So it sounded like the real one of the big things was diversity of income was
Yes.
primary, because I talking to every agent, they'll all tell you that everyone's got, the education and, and technology, right? Education and technology. I went over there because of education and technology. Okay. Well, that's what the last agent said from the other brokerage. And, so that's all, I guess, in what you see in your mind, but, obviously not all brokerages have a diverse, way of making income, from that standpoint. So, making that joke is, 5 years ago, EXP is pretty in an infantile stage here in this area anyway.
I think we had, brokerage wise, we had 4,000 agents, something like that.
Nationally,
Not internationally total, like in the whole
right?
the whole brokerage. Now we're in 20 some countries, and we're at 88, 90, almost 90,000 agents right now. Just 6 years later.
So, in Northeast Florida, though, besides you and Josh and the few people that you were initially, how many others were?
It was pretty small at that time.
Yeah.
I think I remember it was mid 2025. I think Chris Snow got in around then.
Right.
Maybe a couple other people, but it was definitely tiny. I don't have access to all the records, but I was trying to do some research on market share and all of that.
Yeah, so there was a handful. Now, obviously, it's grown exponentially at this point, and the number of agents that are under EXP. What are some different ways at EXP? Because you had the diversity. Some people are different. Some people are like true recruiters. I've heard some stories of guys that are guys that have started podcasting to simply get the word of EXP out and recruit, and they're making checks and living in Puerto Rico. I've heard stories like that. But that's not, everyone's not recruiting. Some people are just EXP because of the stock or whatever it is. So what are some, I guess, did they really break it down like, hey, these are some lanes that you can take?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as what a brokerage has to offer, EXP, of course, again, top-notch training, and it's live training, but it's in the cloud. So you don't actually you can keep your PJs on and check in. You can still raise your hand and ask questions and interact with people. And a lot of it's done by very successful agents. We have the opportunity in our...
Do they do a lot of panels, or do they actually have...
It's more like classes.
I've been an anti-panel person lately, so I'm just putting...
Oh, are you anti-panel?
Yeah.
What don't you like about panels?
I feel, for the most part, at least recently, and I'm not going to say like every one, but it's gotten overdone. Some of the marketing people at places that you and I know have suggested to stay away from panels. It's been overdone. And I think there's certain individuals that seem to be on every panel, and I know one of them that you and I know. Her and I joke about it. How many panels are you on this week? And we talk. And
we were on a panel together recently.
I think you've done several probably with her. And I feel that if there's not truly a subject matter, like if you want, hey, we're going to have a panel of, these are 3 agents that are killing it in YouTube. All right, something very distinct there, and we're going to spend an hour talking about it, and in different ways, and how to get started, and some real nuggets of knowledge. But I think the panels have gotten to the point where, hey, we're having a panel, and we're going to talk about the market conditions.
Yeah.
At that point, it's just hey, the sponsor is putting some food and drink out, and these popular agents are going to be there. So if you want to hang with the who, you want to show up, but you're not really learning anything. You know what I'm saying? I really feel it's gotten that such a, because I see some of the, and it could be the marketing of the panel itself, where they are not actually creating an event. When you create an event and you want to push it, like you got to be there or you're going to miss out type of attitude through your marketing to drive people to that event. But those people need to leave with a nugget or they're not going to come back to the next time you
Right. No,
wolf,
no,
right?
I agree with that. Actually, I feel like panels. I was on one recently where just the questions were such that I just felt like I was talking about myself. And I don't want to sit up there and talk about myself. I mean, I wanted to come and bring nuggets. So I actually, there's a couple times where you hear me be like, does anyone care what I have to say on this?
Exactly.
But I was like, I was like,
Really?
hey, are you going to ask a question about like a real strategy that I give? Okay, I'm going to steal this question and I'm going to just, all right, everyone get your pens and paper out. This is how you do, and I went over some digital farming, like farming in your neighborhood,
Right.
3 activities that you can do. And put that out there, like, hey, take this. You can do this tonight. Go and do this.
Here's
You will
3
get
things to
business,
start off with to do.
and
Boom.
put it in there.
Yeah.
But if the panel isn't asking those questions, then it's who cares about my opinion on what the market's going to do? I have no idea what it's going to do.
Right.
I can track trends and stats, but like, what if? I mean, who knows? Anyway,
Well, I think
I can talk about what I don't know all day.
It could be the sponsor's fault from the standpoint, obviously they didn't create a real subject, but because they wanted to make it so light that the panelists would just say, oh, you want me? I'm popular. You want me on your panel? Okay, I'll be on your panel. I don't have to prepare anything. I just show up and it's me. And we can talk kind of like, you could show up to this podcast. You didn't have to prepare for it because we're talking about you, right? So you and thing versus if we were giving instruction today on YouTube, we would have our notes out of everything we want to mention, or hey, these are 3 things that you want to do. So we're adding value. That's why I think the panel, the invitees, the sponsors have lowered the bar so low to try to thinking that's what's going to get the panelists to agree versus asking the panelists to actually prepare material that, hey, can you tip on, hey, 3 things that you do to do this, and I want you to talk about it. So it's the preparedness, and therefore no one really leaves with value.
Cool. Well, and so we don't need to be anti-panel. Then we can be. Let's improve them.
Improve them. Yes.
Yeah,
Well, no,
let's have
I agree. That's yes.
Amazing
Yes,
panels.
yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And people who ask meaningful questions.
Cool.
Yes, we'll agree with that for 100%. All right. I actually shortened this question. I put all, and I'll have to go back to it. But what is your mindset when you're leveraging? We talked about pre-show a lot. Doing the different reels, whether it's YouTube Shorts or Instagram and so forth. What space do you like the most? But do you feel it's important that people are putting their stuff across the multiple platforms of social media?
Wow, that's a really good question. And I would say for someone starting out, first of all, to just focus. For me, I think I see agents out there, amazing agents that are killing it on Instagram. I see amazing agents out there that are killing it on TikTok. And I dabble in there a little bit, but where I actually have good dollar producing activities, things that are building relationships that are meaningful for me in the way I build my business, it's Facebook. It's Facebook groups. And it's even specifically Facebook neighborhood groups or interest groups. That's just where I choose to put.
Did you start the
lion's
Beacon
share of
Lake
my
group,
focus.
or did someone?
It was someone else started
and
it, and then someone else started another one because there was a feud, and then we just blended them back together again. Woohoo! So I don't have to post twice all the time now. But if there isn't one, I did start one about the same time, and Mikey and I chatted. He's the guy that started it, and Mikey's Coastal Customs, get your closing gifts. And it just made sense for me. So I morphed mine into a business group in the neighborhood a little bit, and it's all good. But just be in it and be active on it. But pick your niche, I guess, and get good at that first. And then I've started doing a lot of reels lately, and I make them on Facebook, and then I'll send them over to Instagram. I've thrown a few onto TikTok, but I don't really know what I'm doing over there. So I've got a Beacon Lake TikTok page that's got like 5 posts on it. It's just kind of feeling it out a little bit.
Well, the great thing about the reels, at least and again, I'm getting this, and the company is making more reels, but I'm going back in a lot of my old content and creating reels out of it. you can take that same reel, put it on TikTok, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts. Same thing.
Yeah.
And hit it, because your audience, you don't know where your audience is. And obviously, I think YouTube is probably, if you're searching 6 months from now, that short may pop up. No one's searching on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not a search mechanism, but for that moment in time, when it initially goes out, your fans will see it. But if it's a piece of information, I did one about CDDs yesterday, and obviously that can be put on shorts because people Google about that all the time. The information's not going to change.
Well, and thank you for bringing me there, because I like to get places the long way around. But yeah, so I would say focus on like really being good on one. And then, like you just said, if you're making the reel over here anyways, why not throw it up on Instagram, throw it up on a short, throw it up on a TikTok, as long as that doesn't become a distraction and you're actually doing the one that you've chosen to focus on.
Right.
And maybe you've chosen to focus on Facebook and Instagram in separate strategies. As long as you're doing that, just do it. I'm
sure you watch some of the YouTube videos, like how to get more views, or the advice that they give. Would you? I've come to the conclusion of you got to just do it. You could start trying to do some of the things they're recommending you to do, but stuff is changing all the time and the different algorithms. Don't hold back from just doing even just that basic video and getting started and getting, again, your at-bats and getting better at doing better videos. Maybe you don't want anybody to see. You might have to do 100 videos to get really good at it, 100 shorts to get really good at it. So start on that journey of the 100 to get to the really good one.
Well, and yeah, so I actually don't watch a lot of content on how to make your content more visible for that reason. That it's, in my opinion, it's another form of procrastination. Yeah. That you're supposed to be making videos, but it's, I want to make sure I get the most exposure and look at it the most. And so you just waste time watching all this stuff. I'm not saying there's not value to it. There's people A/B test their thumbnail, the picture on the, there's something to be said for that, but you got to get there first.
You use TubeBuddy? Sorry? You have TubeBuddy on your YouTube? TubeBuddy will help you with the keywords and so forth.
Oh, cool. Oh, TubeBuddy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't. But there's so many tools out there. But I would say, go set your goal. Go shoot your 100 videos first. Then you earn the right to try and tweak things and get more exposure. There's no if you're gonna spend all your time looking at how to do it right, but you're not actually gonna do it, then you're just wasting time. Like shoot the videos.
Shoot the video. It's like that I was talking about that guy.
And post the video. Don't just shoot it.
Post it. But it's like I was talking about that guy in just went and shot that video in Montana, and he just rattled off a bunch of stuff that obviously he had been experiencing talking to buyers wanting to come to Montana. As you mentioned, a buyer asks you a question, you're like, ooh, that's a new one. I didn't have it. Let me go on and put it out there. And I think the realization, I tell a lot of people, again, your friends and your family, and even there's people that are out there that may hear your Hungarian accent, for example, are attracted to that. There's some people that they're not looking at, they're hearing your information and your voice sounds good to them. It doesn't pierce their ears. But we don't know. There's going to be people that are going to like us and people who don't like us. The people who like us don't care if we stutter. I mean, I can go, if I listen to every one of my podcasts, as soon as it comes out, I listen to it, and I'm picking up on other things. And I have had people say, "Oh, Tracy, you sound so great," and I'm picking up, because I can tell you right now, when I turn my head on the microphone, I can hear it when I'm listening to it. The average person doesn't pick up on it, but because I've done it so many times now, I know when I thought, or I will, I'm thinking of a statement. I'm listening to my guest talk, and a question comes in, and I'm suppressing that question because I don't want to interrupt them. I want them to finish their thought, and then I want to come out with this great question, and my mind is spinning that I don't actually complete my sentence. In conversation, most people, you and I we fill in the blank, but when you're listening to it on audio, I can hear myself doing that.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Even earlier, like, that guy, and I stop, and then you start thinking, and your mind goes somewhere else.
Yeah,
and then,
you bring it
home, Austin. We sound like Joe Biden or something.
Not that bad, but we are critical of ourselves. your friends and family are not that critical of you. They love you. They expect you to stutter. They expect you to mispronounce words as I do all the time. But they'll love you. And it's the fact that you're doing it. They love you that much more.
I love that. That's as you were talking, I was thinking of some other things to throw in there, but you took it home right there. And so, well, I have a coach, Hank, and he likes to point out that whenever you do anything, if it's, worth doing, you have 30% of people that don't care about you, maybe 33. I'm just going to make the math work. I'm going to say 30. Yeah. 30%, a third are going to love you, and a third are going to hate you anyways.
Yeah.
So when we're out there and we're doing our goofy videos, Josh always says we'd rather be cool and broke or cheesy and rich, right? And so just being cheesy, having fun, just let your own personality come out. And some people aren't going to like you, and that's okay. You're going to be trolls. There's trolls on the internet. Oh, newsflash. Just forget them, block them. Like my block button is so quick to use. I got a big list of people just because I don't want that negativity. So if they're not your fan anyways and they don't like you, who cares? Just don't even worry about them. Just keep doing what you're doing, and 30% of the people out there aren't going to care, and the other 30% are going to love you, and they're going to be your tribe, and they're going to know, like, and trust you, and they're going to come and give you the business. And do you really want to work with that? Like, if say you're an upbeat, happy person on your videos, and so that puts someone off. Do you want to work with that person? Maybe not. Let's save that for the agent that's a little more the high D, or maybe just not into having fun.
Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt when we walk in a room, there's certain people we see right away, and our own psychological thing creates, that's an approachable person. That's not an approachable person. I don't like your mind already does that for you. And like you said, that's that third that says that, they may look at you and, I had a boss one time say to me, he said, and he was a big guy too. And I said, we walk into a room and immediately people are on a defensive position. And even though we would probably give our shirt off the back before anybody else doesn't to help anybody, we have to actually express that where, just simply by our mere presence, right? So whether we're big or we're skinny, we're fat, we're, our skin color, whatever, people automatically have those. Don't worry about those people. Maybe they'll come on later. Who knows? But yeah, there's enough core group that love you.
There's going to be people that hate what you're saying right now, and then 3 years from now, they're going to be like, oh shoot, I remember when Tracy was saying that. I remember when Austin was saying that, and they're right. And then they become fans, right? So everyone's moving through their own journey at their own pace, and so people might come around.
Well, just a mirror. Obviously, you reach across the room, and I mentioned Missy. Katie Campmeyer earlier. She's down in Riverside and opened an office down there, and she's talking about being a liaison for the business people to the homeowners down there, the community. And I guess for years she said there was this, not necessarily business versus the homeowners, but there just wasn't a sense of community in her mind. At least she's gone down there, and they had this event and blocked off the street, and more people came than she even expected, and it was great. And she just found that people were not just going across the street and saying, hi, who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? Type of thing. And it's built a community. As we see in our community, I'm on St. John's Golf, you're in Beacon Lake, how it's, those communities, they bond pretty quick.
They do.
And if you have those people who do participate in the Facebook pages and so forth are awesome. All right, I want to finish up here with a couple key things that I get a lot or hear a lot from the agents that I've had on. How important is education and staying abreast of the market, as far as, whether you're going down to the board to get an education, whether you're going to an EXP event, how important is it to consistently be taking in knowledge? And obviously you guys have a lot online from your instructors.
Yeah, it's critical. If you want to be able to give, then you have to have something to give, and you need to keep building that up, replenishing that storehouse, so you have things to give to people. And so, I mean, even if it's as simple as looking up the market stats for a specific neighborhood, and that's the most valuable 15 minutes a month that I do, is a market stats video for Beacon Lake. And you might make one for your neighborhood, for St. Johns County, for whatever that is. But that's a little bit of education, but there's also like the self-improvement, How do I get better at speaking? How am I becoming a better negotiator?
I'm sure that's changed over time, how you even present that material, right? You've probably sharpened
100%.
yourself, yeah. Yeah.
100%. And that's trial and error, and you try stuff, and some works, some doesn't. But again, just do it. Don't even worry too much about that.
Exactly, because you have to get out there and start doing it, and then you're gonna look at it and go, oh, you know what? I could bring in a PowerPoint. Like, some of the things about YouTube now, they're saying if you want people to stay, it's about keeping people on the channel. Is you throw in pictures and so forth, and you get better at that stuff. You're not going to be able to do that right away unless you already edit video.
Right.
But you got to start doing it, create the video, and then each new video you can add a little twist to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but that's a good point too. Like educating yourself on how YouTube works, how to make a video, how to do basic editing if that's what you've earned the right to do because you've made video. Of course, being better negotiator, better at contracts, things like that. But that's helpful for our clients, 100%. But my advice to new agents, any agent really, is get better at finding customers. I mean, you can be the best agent in the world at the contract, the best negotiator, the best all of that. But if you don't know how to meet people and have real estate conversations with people, then you're not going to help anyone anyways, and you're going to go broke doing it, right? If you could be a terrible agent, I don't recommend this, but you're really good at like having conversations with people and meeting people and getting business, and you're gonna thrive at least financially for a time anyways. But so really,
as you reach a level, as I'm sure Josh, you guys have reached a level where you have those people who are really good at having those appointments, and you found there are really people that are good behind closed doors in the cube and can do all that other stuff for you, type of thing. But you're saying, prospecting, obviously, number one.
Yes,
what is something, and I know you do your market thing each month for Beacon Lakes, but give us another nugget of what's something you do consistently in your business that you feel moves the needle.
All right. So, the digital farm. So that would be Beacon Lake. I also have what I call a social media hit list. And it's an activity that I do every day in either my Beacon Lake group or just on my Facebook page. And it's basically, it's so many likes, so many comments, so many messages, so many friend requests, and a post. And I set a stopwatch when I do it. And so I know when, and I've asked Josh, I'm like, hey, give me accountability on this. Every day I'm going to send you 3 numbers. One is follow up with my VIPs. We'll talk about that. One is social media hit list. And that's the second number I wrote. It'll say like 13 minutes, 10 seconds. And I've done it in under 7 before. And I screen shared it just to show it could be done. And then follow up is another thing that I do. So following up on your stuff that you have floating in your database, people maybe you've forgotten about, or letting things fall through the cracks, or maybe someone came to an open house and you entered their contact, but you haven't reached back out to them. So
you maybe like, hey, I'm going to call 10 people a day or 20 people a day. Do you have a number like that? Because obviously that number can be fluid.
So for follow up, that's a timer for me. I'm like, I'm going to spend 10 minutes doing follow up, and it seems like a crazy low number.
So if the first person picks up and you talk to them for 10 minutes, that's good. You're good.
I can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've accomplished what I wanted to do. I know my math. Math is the path. And I know that if I do that, then I'm going to hit my goals. So yes, I can, but typically that rolls over into more time, right? Because as you're doing things, I don't just spend 10 minutes a day doing that. But if I only spend 10 minutes a day today doing that, and then I have to go do showings, I have to do other things, I still win the day because I did what I have to do, the big rock. And then for me, the conversations is more following up with my VIP. So I'm
who's a VIP? Yeah, define that.
Right. So I'm really, 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 really big on, first of all, awareness. So knowing who are the people that in your life, in your sphere, in your past clients, in your database, your person base, who are the people that know, like, and trust you are going to, give you business. And so some of my time is spent figuring that out. And then awareness around what are the activities I'm doing that actually are producing dollars for me, right? And then, so the big thing is subtraction. I've gotten really good at and helped a lot of agents get good at removing things from their business and from their daily activities that they don't really need to do. We do a lot of agents out there where like we want to tell our spouse, man, I was really busy today. I got a lot done. And really it was nothing that's actually going to produce money. So it's not really that helpful, but we want to feel like that we're being busy. So identifying what actually makes us money and doing that first and doing that well and streamlining that and getting rid of the chaff when it comes to activities. But a lot of that, like a lot of people want, like you just keep growing your database bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I did that for a while. And you get like 3,000 people. I know people have 30,000 and 50,000 names in their database, whatever. The more people I had in my database, the more stress I would just feel in the background. I couldn't quite explain it, but it was always like
I think I've heard you talk about this before.
Yeah. Okay. There's always like a weight pressing down on you. Like I haven't followed up enough. I haven't contacted people. I got 3,000 people I need to keep up with. The moment that I subtracted and I got myself down to 300 people in my database, like my life, well, maybe some of your drip campaigns might Yeah, maybe not, but I'm all about quality of life too. And the fact that I can just enjoy dealing with the people that I like dealing with and knowing the people and having a relationship with people I'm doing business with, it's more fulfilling. And I know exactly, like, man, I get to spend this month I'm writing a lot of handwritten notes. And so who am I writing those to? Well, I know who I'm writing those to because I have categorized people as, VIPs or A's or ones or whatever you want to call them. They're just people that have referred you business or will do business with you.
Right. And I think, would you, just thinking about your vision there, or your mindset on that the other 301 plus, those people who aren't, haven't referred your business, aren't hot to trot, aren't in a position, that again, maybe you talked to 3 years ago and you've been emailing them and you haven't talked to them.
Or maybe they've never responded to an email.
Never responded to an email. Yeah. And that sort of thing. They're going to see hopefully if they're still interested or whatever, you're doing enough social media that they might capture some of that.
Sure.
But for you to focus yourself on that is taking you away of really spending the quality time of touching those true rocks that may have treasures under them. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. How important, because I know when we mentioned Melissa earlier, you guys were in the same group at Keller Williams for a little bit. How important is it to surround yourself with successful people? If you're going into EXP, that you go and hang out or talk to or get on the webinars that are being produced by the top people and put those people, and they don't necessarily have to be physically near you, but they're near your ears, however they get there.
Yeah, so what is it? Jim Rohn says you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Cornerstone of personal development, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And so you can talk about that in a lot of different spheres of life. So if I want to be a better husband and father, then the people I want to hang out with are going to be people that I respect and look up to as husbands and fathers.
Right.
If I want to be a better real estate investor, I need to hang out with more people that are investing in real estate.
Right.
And if I want to be a successful agent, I want to hang out with other people that are doing it and that are successful agents. And that's why I love that the team that I'm with is we've surrounded ourselves with well-coached, really good people. But then, like you said, at EXP as well, we've got just this expanded umbrella. But even within there, it's important to really choose who you hang out with, because you can have people that are tending towards the negative. Well, we see it with our kids, right? Our kids, the friend group they hang out with, if they're hanging out with people that are a little, life is terrible or mischief, right? That's where they're going to go. You look at the friend group, and you can kind of predict probably pretty accurately where that kid's going to go.
Yes.
Right. And it's the same with us. So Josh and I have always talked, whenever we talk to new agents, but agents in general, is we're like, don't ask questions. Don't worry about the splits. Don't worry about the office. Don't worry about whether they can make copies or that kind of stuff. All you need to care about, especially as a newer agent, is training and mentorship. And so some people that are going to come alongside you, teach you how to fish, and hold you accountable. Because again, the teaching, even like most of us, we don't need more information. We need to use what we already know works and actually do it. And so that's where, you know, a coaching relationship is super important. A mentorship relationship is super important. And like you said, that doesn't have to be in person. Like we're doing this here right now, right? We're on, I don't know, we're live on Facebook and YouTube and recording it. We have Zoom and we have WhatsApp and we have all these ways to talk to each other in our pajamas if we want. We're actually not wearing pants right now. It was pajama day today. So you said it was pajama day. That's the most important thing is the people that you're hanging out with.
Right. What do you love most about real estate?
I love the so it's not showing pretty houses. That's cool and all. I just like being able to build relationships with people, and I like the wins. I like trust me, I like the easy wins. I like it when a transaction goes smooth.
We show them their first house, they make an offer,
they make an offer, and it's cash, and it's done, and oh no, it's not cash, and they have a great lender, and everything goes smooth, and you know, and so on and so forth. But there is something satisfying, like when you're in the trenches and there's tough negotiations and problems come up and you're able to like slay those dragons and take care of it. And at the end, we're all bloody and tired and we've been mad at each other, but now we're all friends and we have camaraderie and we're like, we conquered this deal together. Yeah. That's amazing too. So I love that aspect of it, of having the challenges and being able to push through them.
If you were talking to someone who's thinking about going into real estate, or you know, maybe, you know, your child or someone close to you, think about going into real estate as a career, and you look back, what would be one thing you would tell them? I always put it as the biggest mistake, or just something like you did to like, I did that, I don't recommend that you do that.
I mean, on some level, I wouldn't recommend most people try to go solo immediately, although there's something to be said for going solo, feeling that pain, and then joining a team. People that just go and join a team right away, they haven't experienced that pain out there. Anyway, so that's going to be different for different people. But I think it's really about self-belief. That you could get your real estate license today, and this afternoon you could go talk to somebody. And if you present yourself in a confident way, they're going to fully trust that you could help them with a real estate deal, even though you've never even
done one,
like filled a contract out before.
Right.
So it's just that self-belief and being that whole say yes, 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 and then work hard and figure it out and align yourself with people that are going to help you write that contract. So then it's not even a big deal, right? If I know I'm talking to you and I don't really know squat about contracts at this point. They decided to go look at houses with me, and I know how to work the lockbox, but I've got people that will show me how to do it and walk me through it.
Right.
Again, that training and mentorship.
Right.
That's what I would say.
The biggest mistake in your eyes that an agent can make, if I can translate what because you spin it to a positive, is to avoid the noise. Don't allow yourself to get down, and if you do feel yourself getting negative, like I can't do it, that you need to call out to someone like yourself or someone like Josh, and you know, someone that's on your coach, and it's going to pat you on the back, kick you in the butt, and put you back out on the street and keep moving forward.
Yeah. So right there, ask for help, and I say that with a little bit of vinegar there, because like it's so frustrating to watch people struggle, and you offer them a life rope, and you're like, hey, look, let's have a call, let's talk. I have another agenda here. We'll come up with a plan. We'll give you some things to do, and you go take that and do it. And you know you can help them, but they just don't, for whatever reason, want to take you up on the. And I'm not saying I or us or we have the answers for everyone, but there's so many times.
Is there an ego you think that holds them back a little bit?
Who knows? Something. I think people are afraid you have a different agenda. Like, why is this person going to help me? We're competition. And it's not. It's maybe it's like that for some of you. It's not like that over here. Like, no, I can figure that. And I admitted to that earlier in this interview. Like, that's why I didn't want to even have a coffee with Josh initially. It's because I want to build this myself. I don't need anybody, and I want to show
Right.
I can do this. Well, nobody can do it by themselves. So ask for help. Reach out to
Well,
reach out to me. Reach out to somebody in your organization, in your sphere, your broker. Just
Right.
always be asking for help.
Well, I mean, just simply by asking, if I was starting in the business and to reach out to someone like yourself or Josh has been doing it a while, you've had your at bats, you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and that sort of thing, and especially some of these agents who, right now, as we have a kind of a, I wouldn't say, I'm not using the word downturn, but a slowing of what's going on, as everyone kind of is like, what's going to happen with the economy and all this kind of stuff. Those agents that were here in 2008 and 9, to talk to them and how they persevered through that time period. And obviously the smart ones, a lot of them when I've had on the show that like jumped into foreclosures and short sales like right away, like, well, that's just what we got to do. And they went in and learned how to do it. Yep. And now's you're got to learn some of those other things. Maybe it's like, well, the last couple of years I haven't had to do any social media. I just got business. Well, now it's slowing down. Maybe I need to do my social media, because when the doors open up again, as they will, because we have such a demand here in Florida, I don't see it dying anytime soon. Your guns are loaded again. You're refreshed. You're energized. Now's the time maybe to take that vacation or take that trip, because when it's feast or famine, when it's feasting time again, you're going to be like, oh, I can't leave town because I might miss a deal. Well, now's the time to recharge those batteries. Get your social media in line. Get your CRM and actually start going back to those 300 people, because you probably neglected them in the last few years.
Absolutely.
With the way business is. But to spin it to the positive, because it will come around. Agents will leave. It's naturally going to happen. We tell everyone to do social media. We know only a small percentage will, but we're still going to keep, charging the hill.
We talked about this earlier before we went live. We talked about, we do this stuff because we like it, and we're doing it. And it's that there's a book, Chop Wood, Carry Water, but it's just about enjoying the journey, enjoying doing it, and we don't always see the results right away. Like you've shot over 100 podcasts, and where's
the tipping point?
Where's the tipping point where it's like you're the number one guy in Jacksonville, because of this, or you're giving, you're making reels, or you're making all these videos on YouTube. Josh shot videos on YouTube for a full year plus before he got one lead out of it. So what if he was 3 months in and he was like, this doesn't work?
Or 3 videos in. A lot of people go 3 videos. I mean, the podcasts are, I initially had that attitude when I kind of started, and when I saw other people in town like trying to start a podcast. But what I realized is they have different ideas. How they do their videos or what they want to put on their videos is different than you. You're going to attract different people. You know different people than I do. We have 2 different circles. We have some overlapping circles, but there's a lot of other people that know you but don't know me, and vice versa. And there's plenty of business out there. But I did have that initial like, oh, I can't believe he's starting a podcast. But you know what? I have personal development, and I said, you know what? And I called another podcaster in town, Al Nicoletti. He's a probate lawyer. I'm learning from him. I'm going to go into his studio and how he does it. He's talking about, we have a lot of overlapping people. Obviously, he's a lawyer. I'm a loan officer. So we have 2 different services that we provide. But to go out and reach out to other podcasters and learn how they're doing it and doing it better, there's plenty of people to listen. And they do it differently. They're going to talk differently. People are going to be attracted to them for different reasons. I like learning. I get a high off, I think it's a personal development book. Every time I have an agent like yourself on here, I'm learning your story. I'm inspired by it. I get new ideas are going through I feel refreshed, and that's my high out of it. They're going to get a different high because they're a different person.
Right.
So, help them out, exchange ideas. He sees and meets other people. So I can go on forever for that. But you're right. They're not, other agents are collaborators. There's going to be people that select you as an agent because you're wearing this nice, I don't know if this is a sweater. It's not really a sweater.
It's Tommy Bahama.
Tommy Bahama shirt.
So I can change it and
you
put
got
it the other way around.
you got your facial hair. And, I officiate football. And this kind of joke in the college levels we're talking about is the salty hair. When the coaches see the guys with the salty hair, they figure you got experience, right?
Okay.
It's the same thing when that person looking for it. They might be looking for that young lady who's 25 years old. Well, okay, if that's what floats their boat, but they may be looking for the more mature guy with the salty hair to lead them through.
More mature. Nicely put.
Yes. You're not as old as I am. All right, 2-minute warning questions. Last 2 questions. What is your favorite thing to do in Northeast Florida? What do you do when you're not doing real estate?
Like just specifically to Northeast Florida?
Yeah, because I like to sell lifestyle. You know,
Okay.
kind of like Beacon Lakes and the CDDs. I talk about lifestyles and those things. That's why you choose the different communities. What's the Northeast Florida lifestyle that you enjoy?
Well, I was gonna go for doing jujitsu, but
Well, hey,
we do have a great community around here for that. But as far as Northeast Florida, man, it's all about being outside, and so we've got the beaches. We've got my wife and I. We love hiking. Now, I will say she's from upstate New York. I'm Canadian. We don't love the heat. So we do love this time of year, although it does make me a little angry in December when it hits 80s. But you know, we made the choice. We're living here.
Right.
But yeah, just the ability to go out and hike, and there's so many trails and so much nature and so many, and you're not gonna get chased by alligators everywhere.
Yeah, all really within. I mean, less than an hour. There's a endless amount of things.
Endless. The springs.
yeah.
It's so much you could do here.
Yeah.
Like, if you're an outdoors enthusiast.
All right, last final question I ask on every podcast, almost every one of them, is it more important who you know or what you know and why?
Well, who you know, because I guess they can teach you the what. And well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You see it all the time where you ask people how they got such and such a job or went to such and such a career, and a lot of times it was they knew somebody that gave them a shot, and then they learned it as they went. But I'm a big who you know person. I'm a connector. I'm a big believer in I actually time block every week for people I'm in like a preferred business partnership with, like businesses that are referring me business. I actually have time blocked every week where I'm trying to think of ways to bring them value and bring them business. And if soon as anyone's like, hey, do you need someone for XYZ? It's automatically just wired in me to be like, yes, I need to connect you with this guy, and you guys should know each other, and just connect.
Yeah.
I have a lot of group texts on my phone.
Cole Slate put it really well. I actually used it as a real, be the resource. I use the term concierge because other agents have used it. And I summarize it with the concierge. Be the I got a guy person. Be that resource, especially as a real estate agent. These new people are coming in. They don't know where to go for this or that or the other thing. Hey, you need a painter or whatever. You've got the I got a guy.
Cole does that so well. And if he says that, then I'm on board with it.
We talked about YouTube so much. Tell everyone your channels. Where can they find your material?
Mostly find me on Facebook, and it's just my personal page, Austin Preik. And then
it's Preik.
EIK, like the song.
Okay.
Old McDonald,
E-I-O.
There's no O though. And there's only one EI. But it rhymes with bike. And then YouTube as well is /Austin Preik.
And I think it's important, and I want to end with this. Go on Austin. Obviously, I want you to go and subscribe to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast YouTube
Click
page,
the bell.
which I'm very proud. We are evolving video, podcast, YouTube. You want to go back and look at some of his oldest stuff. Look at some of my oldest stuff, the videos. You just got to get out there and do it. And if you're watching this episode today, you're like, oh, wow, this is really polished. Go back and watch my first episode. Go back and watch the first video, whatever.
Don't go back and watch the first video. I told you I'm frowning.
But hopefully that will give you motivation. So whether it's Austin's, Preik, his at YouTube or YouTube at Austin, whatever.
Yeah, don't go to YouTube. Just go friend me on Facebook.
Just Google it. Just Google it, and your YouTube page, I'm sure, comes up. But just do it.
But on that note, just really quick to cap that off. You're gonna suck right now, but nobody's watching you anyways. So right now, while you're practicing, suck, and you'll get a little bit better, and you'll suck a little less, and then you'll get like decent. And people aren't seeing your first stuff anyways, unless they go back and rewatch episode 1.
Your mom may see it.
That's right. Your mom may see it. And then once you're starting to feel comfortable and proficient, that's when you have an audience anyway. So don't even worry about it. Just shoot it, post it, shoot it, post it, shoot it, post it, shoot it, post it.